All right, we are back with the 1973 Datsun 240Z. Got it lifted up on jack stands now. Today we're going to be pulling that old transmission out and rebuilding it. Something I probably could have done when I had the motor out and everything, but I didn't realize that all the Synchros were shot in that. I thought it might have been okay for a little while. But you live and you learn. So we're going to get started by disconnecting the battery and pulling out that starter. And then we're going to undo the bell housing, undo the drive shaft, the mounts and stuff that are holding the transmission inside of the car. And yeah, so let's get started. Okay, so we're going to disconnect the battery using the wrong tools for the job, because all of my tools are in bags. There we go. There's that guy. There we go. And before we go any further, I just want to let you know I am using a factory service manual for removing and rebuilding the transmission. So if you don't have one of these, I highly recommend getting your hands on one. Alright, next up, we're going to take that starter out. So I'm going to go over here to my sack of sockets and see if I can find the right socket. Okay, so we're just going to disconnect our fusible link here. There you go. And then pull this guy off. There you go. Okay, now we're just gonna disconnect the old exhaust flangers here. Okay, now that we got all the bottom stuff unplugged and drive shaft is out of the way, exhaust is out of the way, your reverse switch and your speedometer cable, now we're going to start working on our bell housing. So we're just going to work our way from the top. Look at that. Couldn't fit the camera in there, but I'm going to be removing the shift lever from the striking rod. Just like that. Never mind the jack stand that's sliding right there. I actually have another one jacking up the front of the car. Alright, so you need to make sure that you're in neutral. So you should be able to rotate both of these shafts on either end of the transmission independently of each other. If you rotate one and the other one spins, you're not in neutral. Make sure that this right here is kicked into the neutral position, because then we got to turn that to the left. This half right here will not come off, and it's got something to do with the shift linkage, so I don't know. We're going to go ahead and take this stuff off and see if we can get it, because following the instructions doesn't always work. Alright, so let's get to it. There we go. Okay, so got to figure it out. I know why it wasn't coming apart now. Look at this. So this guy right here was causing a big problem. So this guy right here sits on this bearing. It's a little bit of a tight fit. There we go. Alright, so that fork that rides right here, it was coming right here and it cocked this to the side. So then it wasn't allowing this to slide off. So it's something to keep an eye for when you're taking one of these transmissions apart, is that these tolerances are fairly tight, and you get it side loaded just a little bit, it ain't coming off. So that's my word to the wise on this project so far. Take me a while to get through this, but we'll get there. After cleaning and inspecting the fork rods and check balls and interlock balls and springs, I reassembled, forgetting to hit record on my camera. Okay, so after doing an inspection on this, the Synchros are like brand new, the gear teeth all look fantastic. I don't see any reason I need to tear this down any more than it already is. I did my inspection, everything's great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace all the seals and the gaskets and yeah, go from there. I just figured I should probably rebuild this, you know, because everything else is rebuilt on the car, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Go. Give this a nice little wipe out. Go. seal in place. Okay, there's that. That guy goes in there somewhere. Okay, let's move on to this seal. So as you can see in here, this right here is the piece that came out of this housing, or the spot, and this thing was hitting that instead of getting past the bearing. So yeah, you just want to make sure that that isn't coming off the bearing during disassembly, because it makes it into a really big pain trying to get this thing apart. Okay, now that everything was inspected, cleaned, and verified satisfactory, went ahead and cleaned off all the gasket material and all the old RTV off the sealing areas. Now I'm just going to go ahead and stick some of this Forma gasket, this Permatex, and you know, I really like this stuff. You know, in my opinion, it beats silicone. So I'm just going to put a little bit around the outside edges here, go around the fastener holes. But you don't want to put too much, otherwise you'll get squeeze out into the internal components. Now I don't mind some squeeze out going to the outside, but definitely don't want it going inside. Now that that's on, I'm going to go ahead and lower the assembly down inside of it. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing on the tail housing, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so this should go together a lot easier than it came apart. There we go. Alright, before I put this back on the bench, I'm just going to secure the halves together here by putting in these 8 fasteners that I took out earlier. Now I don't want to torque these down all the way because I don't have everything fully sandwiched yet. Okay, so we're going to put our big ring on, which this is going to be a challenge with the camera and all that, but we'll see what we can do. There we go. That washer. Alright, so we got our housing cover here, new gasket, got a couple fasteners in there, and we have a thrust washer. So we're just going to go ahead and slide this guy, and we're going to let it rest. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna finish tightening these up. Okay, now we're going to assemble our throwout bearing and clutch fork. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this spring in here, just like so. Okay, and this guy goes like this. There you go. I'm going to go ahead and put our little boot on. Just going to shove that in there. Side. Okay, now that the old clutches and the clutch throwout bearing and fork is installed, got this all cleaned up. You know, I'm gonna leave a little rough. You know, I kind of like the patina of it. Don't plan on painting it or anything. But now I guess we're just gonna go ahead and toss this sucker back inside the car. Can't say I've ever really been a fan of installing a transmission on the ground, but it's a thing.